Everybody, Ozzy here. About ready to do another how-to for my ICM creative post-processing workflow. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you more of how I organize things in Lightroom, how I'm using Lightroom in general, and a little bit of post-processing I'm doing already in Lightroom before I even get to Photoshop, and then of course how I go into Photoshop. So what this is going to be about is I'm going to show you things like how I'm using collections. I'm going to show you how I use the rating system so that way I can organize things and I'm only working with a select few. And then I'm going to use some presets and show you why I like using presets. So stick around and hopefully you enjoy it. Thanks. Hey everyone, Ozzy here. Welcome back. We're going to show you a couple of things about how I use Lightroom, my ICM photography. So the first thing I want to show you is probably something a lot of people already know. We all use it. It's a file structure for Lightroom. It's how I use it as well. It's pretty much collections. So the first thing you will do right here is you are going to go to Library and New Collection, which I've already done. And right here's my new collection, Chicago. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to select pretty much all the photos that I have in Chicago. I'm going to just drag and drop them. And be honest with you, it's pretty much this to the very end. I'm going to shift select. Now they're all selected. You see quite a few of them. I can separate them out as much as I want to, or I can just keep them all bunched together. But I'm really just going to go ahead and select all these. And then I am going to just drag these and drop them into Chicago. Now you see 371 photos, and this is all the photos I have in Chicago for right now, which, for me, can be a decent amount for a day, or it could actually be, a small amount. It just depends on how much you do. But now I go back in here to Chicago, and now I'm only working with photos into Chicago itself. They haven't disappeared, they haven't gone in one place to another, they're just in collections. It just makes it easier to find, really. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of different ones in general. Hocking Hills, Landscape ICM, got some classes I've taken, stuff at the zoo, all depends where it is. But yeah, that's basically it for collections. I mean, it's really nice and simple. Alright, so the next thing I want to show you guys is how I am able to work with a lot of photographs, especially when you're doing ICM, because in ICM, as you can see, I have like 371 right now in Chicago. It could be anywhere between a couple hundred to a couple thousand. You just don't know. And the last thing you want to do is sit there and look at 1,000 photographs in general. So you have to organize them in some way. Lightroom is amazing at that. So how I organize this, I use what's called a rating system. Now, I know what a lot of people think right off the bat when they're talking about rating. It's like you're thinking, but how am I supposed to go from 1 to 5? Well, you really shouldn't go from 1 to 5. What you really should be doing is you should be rating these based on whether you like them or if you don't like them. So you see you have numbers up right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go through a whole bunch of these in general, and I'm going to flip these the right way just so that we can see all this stuff in general. I'm just going to do a full set. As you can see, I have quite a few of them. And then I'm going to go through a rating system. And the rating system is based on whether I like the photo for it or whether I don't like the photo. You can rate from 1 up to 5. Honestly, you're not really going to need it. So I'm going to go ahead and increase the size so I'm only seeing 1 photograph at a time. So we're going to go to the very beginning, 1 photograph at a time. And you see how we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can rate all the way up to 5, or you're not. All I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a 1 if I like the photograph. If I don't care for the photograph and I don't want to work with it right now, I'm just going to skip it. No point. It's like, you could think about it like this way. It's like, do I really want to work with it? Or maybe not work with it? So there's like 2 through 4, 2 through 5. What's the point of 2 through 4, 2 through 5? Are you going to do anything with that? Now, if you want to, you can rate them as a 2, you can rate them as 3, you rate them as 5, whatever you want to do. Basically, the idea of this is when you actually put a rating into it, like a 1 or 5 or 2, whatever you want to do, the idea is the ones you don't want to work with, you don't give it any type of rating whatsoever. That way, when you select it, you're only selecting the photos you want to work with. Like for this instance, this is very clear. It's a nice photograph, but I do not want to work with it. So I'm going to go to the next one. This is fairly decent. So I'm going to put a 1. As you can see, set rating of 1. Now I can go to the next one. And I'm going to go through each and every one to see if I want to work with it or if I don't want to work with it. I like this one, set it to a 1. I like this one here as well, I'm going to set a 1. What I'm looking for also when I'm doing these ratings is you see how this nice little blur, this little painting portion like this. I'm looking for something like that, almost like a painterly stroke, or I'm looking for something that is kind of interesting to me, something that I want to work with. So here's another one. This is okay, not really what I want to work with. This one I like a lot because look at all this nice white blurring, like painterly strokes, like all that. So I'm going to give it a 1. You're not going to get all of them. Some you're going to like, oh, this one here I really like because, let me go back to that. This one I really like because look how this is. It's got a nice white, you see a little faint outline of it. You can see a lot right here. So I'm going to give this one as well. You may not get a whole bunch of ones. You may get a lot of ones that doesn't really make sense to you at the time. But once you get through them where you like it or not, then you can see if you want to work them. You may get hundreds of ones and then you have to do a little further and take some off. It just depends what you want to do. It doesn't mean that the ones that you select as a 1 or select as a 5 right off the bat doesn't mean that you can't work with them. It's just right now you're not going to work with it at the time. You may later on, may not. But that's why you never actually get rid of data, because you may still want to work with it. So yeah, some of these I like a lot. Some of these like, like this one here. It's interesting, but I can't right now. I don't think I could work with that one right now. This is kind of cool too, but the thing I don't like about this is I'm seeing all this upside down stuff. It's really nice, neat, but I don't think I want to work with that just yet. I like that one a lot. This is kind of neat. Kind of like this as well, but I'm not sure about it. Even if I'm not 100% sure, and I think I may, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 1. Just to go ahead and give it a good selection to it. Because I can always go back and remove it where I may not want to work with it at all. There we go. Some nice painterly strokes on these ones right here as well. And some of these you may actually like, okay, I really like the way I looked at the time. And you may not even work with them in any way, shape, or form. You just don't know. It really, right now, all you're really doing is, does it kind of speak to you for any particular reason? And if it does, work with it. And if it doesn't speak to you in any way, shape, or form, just don't worry about it right now. Maybe later on, it will. But it doesn't mean it's going to right now. All right, and we just got through that first set. So yeah. And so now I'm going to show you what this looks like, what the ratings is. I'm going to take this off. I'm going to go back up here to the top where it starts off. See, I have one right here, but the ones are not. So now, over here, filters, I'm going to go to rated. And now, for all those ones I had beforehand, I only have this many right here I'm working with. All right, so the next step that I do when I come down to working with Lightroom for ICM photographs, is I'm going to use the presets already in Lightroom to get just a base idea of what I want the photographs to look like. So I'm going to go into look at the first portion of it. So I'm taking it from grid to the larger version of it, and I am going to go through each one of these presets to see what I like. Now sometimes I'll go through cinematics, cinematic 2, and futuristic or landscape. What I'm going to do in this case right here is because I really like some futuristic ones, I'm going to try and see what we have here. So let's go ahead and take a look at some presets, see what happens. Not sure. You just never know what is going to show up, whether you like it or not, so I just keep going through each one. But the reason why I do this, it's going to look a lot different once you get done with everything. But the reason why I do is because it just takes a lot of guesswork out of moving highlights, moving blacks, moving whites, stuff like that, which you still can do if you want to, but it takes a lot of guesswork out of it, and that really gets me to that general idea of what I want this photograph to kind of look like. You may not even find what you were looking for at the very beginning. You may have to go to a few different presets. Now, if you know the style you want to all the time, just go straight to it. But I can be a little eclectic sometimes and may not always get the coloring I want. So now I'm going to look at cinematic because I want to see what's in there. Oh, I kind of like that already. Seeing one. I do like the omnichromatic, almost like a very grayscale look to it as well, but I'm not sure if I'm ready for that yet, because I can always do grayscale or black and white a little later on. So far, the first cinematic one seems to be my favorite. But yeah, this is basically what I'm doing. I'm just going through each one and seeing what I like. Because once I get this, and then afterwards I'm going to probably go ahead and sync them all. And then I'm going to start selecting what photos I want to work with so I can take them into Photoshop. Sometimes it takes a little longer than normal. Sometimes you'll find like 3, 4, 5, a whole bunch of them you really like. And then you have to decide between that. It all just depends on your taste. There's no such thing as a wrong preset. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And the way things are going, I like this right here. So, since I already like this, next thing I'm going to do, since I have a preset, I'm going to go into the develop side of it. And I'm not really, if I want to touch it a little bit, I can make some touch-ups here and there. I usually don't really go too far into making some changes here and there. Maybe sometimes I'll try drop a little bit of clarity down, but not much. You can mess around with the S curve, but usually that's already set up for me. But the main thing I really want to do is I want to come down here to lens correction. I'm going to remove and enable profile collections, and see how that already changed big time right there? That's what I want right there, that portion. So once I have that, now I'm going to come back down here. I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to sync them all. And now I'm going to go back to the library side of it. You can see it hasn't changed, but I'm going to go here. Now every single one of these photographs have actually changed for the way you've actually updated it in general. And then from here, what I would end up doing is I'm going to go through and I'm going to select the top 3, top 5, top 8 that I really want to work with right now, depending on where I want to go, and then I would actually go there. So just to show you, just like that. So now if I wanted to, I would go through each one of these and see which ones I want to work with. Like I like that one, kind of like this. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 selected. So what I would end up doing from here is I would go ahead and go to Photo, Edit, Open those layers in Photoshop, and now I would transfer these photos into Photoshop. And that's where the next set of work is going to be done. I'll do that at a later time frame, and I will start showing everybody exactly the next step of the workflow. But I wanted to go ahead and get all these out here for you for right now. So here's how I did this at the very beginning. Remember, I created a collection so I can keep everything in a nice structure so I can go find it. Right now I have this in the Chicago collection. That way, say I go to Hockey Hills later on, I can go right back in Chicago, I can find all those. And I can even do sub collections and just really get a good file system. From there, I went through every single one of these photos in the Chicago collection and I gave a rating. Now, I only selected the number 1 for my rating. I can select 5, I can select 3, I can select 2, whatever. The point is, I want to put a number selection, and then the ones I don't want to work with, I just leave it alone. That way, when I go to the filters, I'll be able to hit rate it, and the only thing that comes up is the ones I actually selected as a pick, a 1, a 5, whatever you want to do. You can do this with a couple different versions. You can do flag or no flag, whatever you want to. But basically, the idea is you mark the ones you want to work with, and you do not mark the ones that do not want to work with, at least for right now. Come back later, but that's how it is. And then the next thing I did was I went ahead and looked at presets. And I found the preset that gave me a base idea of what I want to do with these photos, at least for right now, until they change a little bit more of it as I go more into creative photography or creative post-processing. I did that, and then I sank every single one of these. That gives the same look. And then remember what I also did with the post or the portion is I took the lens correction and I took the remove chromatic aberration and the enable profile corrections, make sure it's selected at those 2 checkboxes to make sure I can make some corrections to it. And then from there, all I'm doing is selecting the top photos I want to work with at this point in time. Doesn't mean I'm selecting all of them. I could be selecting 3, I could select 5, I could select 8. It just depends on what you really want in general and what your ideas are. And then I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to go to photo, and I'm going to put edit and do open as layers. So it'll be photo, edit in, open as layers in Photoshop, and it's going to transfer the ones you've selected into Photoshop, and it's going to put them into layers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's where the next step of creative post processing is. All right, so thank you for watching this, how I use Lightroom for my ICM photography. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoy doing these in general. I want to give everybody a good idea. The reason why I did this one right here is because I've had a couple post-process ones where I kind of skipped a little bit or a decent amount of the Lightroom portion of it. I just did one from Lightroom straight to Photoshop, and I wanted to show you what I'm doing in Lightroom prior to that time frame, so you understand, number 1, how I'm structuring things, how I'm working with hundreds of photos, just to be working with a couple of different ones in general, and where I go from there. Hope you liked it. If you did, give me a like. If you want to see more of these, subscribe. And if you have any ideas what I do, make a comment. I will reply to the comment, and I do thank everybody for watching me and enjoying this. Until next time, this is Ozzy. I'm out. Bye.